6096-835-6096. Blue Plate Diner 342-4125. That's Blue Plate Diner 342-4125. Seafood Plus 933-4100. 933-4100. Last but certainly not least, February 3rd, the Community Research Institute is having having a Casa Nowhere lecture series. The subject matter is going to be the reparations controversy today, confusion over black power, and what happened to the Black Manifesto. That's going to take place February 3rd at the Aquaba Center, 8045 2nd at Seward. And it's a free program. Ain't going to cost you nothing. For more information, call Baba Kafense, 595-5526. 595-5526. Hotel, Brother Professor Bobby Hill.
All right.
Hotel, Brother Corwin.
Hotel.
All right, what we talking about today? Oh, and before we start, now y'all call in early, because see, y'all like to flood me late, and then you want to ask Bobby these deep questions at 8 minutes to 7. It ain't going to work. Call up now, and then he can answer all your questions. Believe me, he will take on all questions. I've seen him do it. What we talking about today?
I guess we'll start off today talking about the 14th Amendment.
Yes, sir.
Because it's a lot of confusion with our people that the 14th Amendment is law. You know, I say it all the time, it's not law. And anything come after the first 10 amendments is not law. The United States Constitution cannot be amended. And you heard me say many times that the Constitution is a contract.
Right.
But you have to understand that it's two United States, the United States of America. Because anytime you see that word of, you're talking about a private non-profit corporation. Now, if you look on your dollar bill, or your $5 bill, or your $20 bill, you see on this side of the dollar bill, it says the Department of.
Right.
Right here it says the United States, and you come about the United States of America. Now, if you go right here, it says the Treasury of the U.S. On this side is the U.S. Republic, and on this side is the United States of America. But our people are confused that both are the same. They are not the same. The United States of America is a private non-profit corporation, and is operating up under, really, everybody that's operating up under there now is operating up under the 14th Amendment, which is not lawful. Now, what they did, they made us think that we was freed by the 13th and 14th Amendments, which in reality, we are indigenous to this land. Because we was not indigenous to this land, they wouldn't waste money building prisons. What would they do to us? They would they was deported. They can't deport us because we indigenous to the land. And another thing about this seal on the dollar bill, or this pyramid, you got two seals. Under the pyramid it says the Great Seal, which is the Great Seal of the Moors, but they don't talk about that. They keep that seal hidden. The knowledge about that seal hidden. And when anybody is talking about that seal, the first thing they say, that's Illuminati, it's the devil, all these types of things. But this seal is supposed to be the front of the seal. It's supposed to be like this, the pyramid in front of the seal, and on this other side where you see the eagle, it says of the United States of America. Now the of is a preposition. Now I know we all had English, and that tells you of the United States. It's supposed to be under the pyramid, but that's the trick. But it's the only seal in the world that has two sides. The United States cannot do anything without this seal. This is the seal of the Moors.
That's our
seal. That's our seal.
Professor Bob, how come we don't know it? This isn't being taught in school. It's not on TV, except when y'all are here. You know, we've never heard any. Well, why is there conspiracy to keep us from knowing who we are, to keep us from knowing that we were here 100,000 years ago? I mean, what's going on?
It's about the land. You know, they conspired together after the Reconstruction area. And now when you're going back to the Reconstruction area, you're going back to the Civil War. And the Civil War didn't happen exactly like they said the Civil War happened. Because during that time, the Europeans did not have any confederacies. Was two powerful confederacies at that time. It was the Powhatan and the Iroquois. That's why it was so important that they would show us Roy Rogers movies and John Wayne, and they would show the Power 10, and they would show all these people who were supposed to be Indians looking like, you know, they look today, and make them look like they was the original people here, but they're not the original people here. They have a recessive gene, and it's impossible for the recessive to be here before the progressive. The people who you see that they're calling Indians today, a lot of them came here during the 4th century from the Zhang dynasty in China, and then you have another group where you see the white folks calling themselves Indians. That's where they mixed in with our women, and those became known as no-men. Now, if they mixed in with you and your people, so your tribal people was called Washington, they became Washington too because your son was your son. You see what I'm saying? They conquered us through the blood. They married in what they call it today is the United States. They call it the melting pot. Before it was called a melting pot, it was called tying into the vine. If you read the Willie Lynch letter, he's talking about mixing a little of good white blood and all this kind of stuff. That's what he's talking about there.
So that's what was done. Tell us about Niagara Falls.
Well, Niagara Falls, you have a street called Ambassador Road, because a lot of people think all the freedom came from Canada, but over in Canada, because you know before it was called Canada, it was called Britain. Now, if you go back and get you a 1790 map, like I have, you seen it at the dojo, a 1790 map, you'll see it was no such place called Canada, it was called Britain.
Right.
And when people mostly look at Britain, they're looking at Britain across the water. Just like in the area what you call Louisiana, and in that area, one time it was called Spain. Spain and Britain was right here. That's hard to believe until you go do some research and get these old maps and look. And I have the old maps, you know. And I lost my chain of thought.
You talking about Niagara Falls?
Well, Niagara Falls is what they used to do, the same thing they did here. In every city, in every state, you have a place you call Salem. This is where they accuse the Moorish women of being witches. And they took them to these places and they tortured them. And some of them, they burned them at the stake. Now, Niagara Falls, they made our women march by the tens of thousands to a place called Niagara Falls. It became known as the Nigger Falls of Tears, where they cut our women's head off and they threw their bodies over the falls. They killed so many where they could take the land. Because in order to occupy the land, you had to conquer the woman. Because everything came through the woman, because in North America and South America, it was a matriarch system. That's why nothing is not working for us right now, because the woman don't realize everything is coming from her. If she don't stand up, it's not going to work. That's why we lift women up.
Right.
It was not a, what they call it today, patriarchal.
Right.
No, it was a matriarch system. And one of the men that tried to destroy the matriarch system was a man by the name of George Washington. But John Hanson, the first president, he wasn't the first president altogether, but he was the first president up under the Articles of Confederation. He stood up against George Washington. But George Washington surrounded the Continental Congress to try to take over, to try to force the country into being a, what you call it, a monarch system. Right. A monarch system, and John Hanson stood up against it in a court order, you know. Everything was happening really through court battles, but they don't want to tell you that. They want to make you think it was a battle on the battlefield. Like today, this war we're fighting is a paper war. But a lot of people don't understand that because they can only see guns and bombs. But the war we're fighting here in the United States is basically a paper war. But John Hanson stood up against him, and he made all these other 3/5 companies take their flags down and get out of here. And the only ones that was allowed to stay here is the one you call the free person. You go to Article 1 of the Constitution, Section 2, Clause 3. And it tells you about the free person. The free person of the Constitution is the English white male. They know this. That's the only body can be a citizen in this country. Nobody else can be a citizen in the country. The 3/5 persons of the Constitution is the Dutch masters, the Polish, the Scottish, the French, and the Irish. But see, people get a misunderstanding because they didn't teach us law. But now you get your Black's Law Dictionary. which they use in every courtroom, and you look up the word person, and it'll tell you that there's two types of person. You got a living person, which is a natural person, and you also have a